Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. Welcome to our Crucifixional live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people in with us. We are grinding through this week, talking about the power of words and how they produce thought. I'm going to tell you a funny, interesting story in just a moment. But before I do, make sure, please, we ask if you would share, like, ring the bell, share us with your friends, post us on your timelines. We appreciate all of that help. And don't be afraid to also visit warriorsaints.org. You can find your copy of the book there. Kind of fun. Anyhow, I was having a conversation with someone, and the person used the word intentional. I'm trying to be very intentional about that. And I thought about that word intentional, and it's a word that is used in it's the word du jour, a trendy word right now. It's trending upward, to be intentional in business circles or efficiency circles, self-help, self-growth, that kind of stuff. It's also a word that the the proclaimed generation of millennials, the generation labeled millennials, use intentional. And this particular person was in that age range, the 20s, mid-20s, this person. And I thought about it. I was like, why is that a buzzword? Why is intentional a buzzword? Would you do anything and not be intentional? Should being intentional not be an assumption, right? Like, why do we have to say that to ourselves? Like, I think about it for, in my own life, just as an example. Like, I decided to marry another person, a beautiful woman. Am I not going to be intentional? I mean, is that just, flip the coin and, oh, today's her day? Like, of course you're intentional. In my job, I mean, was I not intentional in doing all of the studies, a bachelor's degree, a master's, a PhD to do what I do? Of course you're intentional. When I go to do my exercise, don't I have an intention of being healthy and so on? And you can find all of this stuff. Why do we have to remind ourselves all the time that, well, I'm trying to be intentional about it? Like we've wiped any meaning out of the word because we use it in this kind of cheesy, pseudo academic, I don't know, trendy, I don't even know, fashion. So what I want to say to us today is like, look, you better have purpose. You should be intentional in all that you do. You don't need to tell me about that, and you don't need to make yourself, feel cool because you use this new trendy buzzword, I'm intentional. It should be that our mind is constantly, always focused, looking at doing things with purpose, with intent. It doesn't mean that we can't sometimes be whimsical. Of course, sometimes it's fun to go out into the high grass and frolic. I get it, right? But it's not something that should be all of life. And I think we have to recognize for especially this generation that uses that word so much, to be intentional and finds, the buzzworthy nature of it. We have to teach them and tell them, like, look, in all that you do, have purpose, right? In all that you do, have a goal. Minus those few whimsical times, right? But like in your life, you should always be being intentional, right? It's not like this isn't something you need to remind yourself of. It's something that needs to be a part of who you are each and every day. Now, how do we get there? How did we get there? Perhaps our parents taught us, perhaps it fell into our laps. I don't know. But I do know that we can't criticize anyone who uses that word. We have to teach and guide them so that they make that word a part of their life rather than having to say it as a buzzword. I understand that. But it's important that we recognize we need to be intentional in all that we do. And with that, we're able to make progress and to move forward, right? So how are we intentional? I mean, it's let's just say it like this. It's perhaps one of the most important things that we can do, and it should be something that is understood and is assumed. Last part of this, I've been thinking about it a lot as I was, rolling that over my head. In that whole genre of like the work ethic and self-help and improvement and all that kind of stuff that's so popular, the outliers, the ones who create upheaval and raise a storm with new thought and new ideas and go viral and become overnight smash success, smash hits, whatever. They're not saying anything new. They're packaging older, traditional, solid work ethic values in new clothing. They're just wrapping it in new clothing and giving it a new name and using words like intentional. It says to me that wisdom, the wisdom of God, the wisdom in the world that we have lived by for generations, for centuries. I'm not talking even about my parents' time. I'm talking about just in life from the beginning, the very first days. That wisdom that is from God, it's powerful, and it is wisdom for a reason. We ought to pay attention to it, right? Not just because it comes packaged in new wrappers, but because it is ultimately God's hand is sprinkling, if you will, the salt and pepper, the flavoring on wisdom in our lives. And if we listen and hear it, we might find the same kind of success that God promises in our own lives. Anyways, that's just kind of a side thought. When you look at like these new things, just recognize if they're really working, it's old, solid wisdom wrapped in new clothing. That's all it is. I love you, beautiful people. As always, visit warriorsaints.org. It is a lovely place there. This website, you will find 3 things. Remember, our Becoming Men series, but we're working on a new one, the book. As I said, you can find the book there. And, of course, join the library. We appreciate you guys. Love you. We'll be back tomorrow. And next week, we have some fun things we're going to start for the balance of the summer. We've got a whole plan coming up, but we will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific. As it always, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.